He walked into town. The man appeared on Route 9 just after sunset on a Tuesday in October, walking the white line like it was a tightrope stretch between earth and sky. Sheriff Tom Bradshaw spotted him from his patrol car, a dark silhouette against the burnt orange horizon, and something about the way the stranger moved made Tom's hand drift toward his holster. "Dispatch, this is Unit 4. I've got a pedestrian on Route 9, mile marker 47. I'm going to check it out." "Copy that. Tom, everything okay?" Tom didn't answer right away. He watched the man walk, perfectly steady, unnaturally straight, like he was being pulled forward on invisible strings. "Yeah, probably fine. Just keep the line open." Willow Creek, population 3,847, didn't get many strangers. The town sat in a valley in rural Oregon, surrounded by dense forests and miles of empty highway. People were born here, lived here, died here. Outsiders usually just passed through on their way to somewhere else. But this man wasn't passing through. He was walking into town with purpose, like he'd been expected. Tom pulled his cruiser onto the shoulder and stepped out. "Evening, sir. You need some help." The man stopped walking. He turned slowly, and in the dying light, Tom got his first clear look at the stranger's face. It was wrong somehow, not deformed or unusual in any obvious way, but wrong. The features were too symmetrical, too perfect, like a mask someone had carefully crafted to look human, but had missed some crucial detail that would have made it real. "Sheriff Bradshaw," the man said, though Tom hadn't introduced himself. His voice was flat, emotionless. "I've come home." A chill ran down Tom's spine. "Home? You from Willow Creek originally?" "I've always been here." The man smiled, and Tom felt his stomach drop. The smile was all teeth, too wide, stretching the face in ways faces shouldn't stretch. "I just needed to remember." Tom's hand settled on his gun. "I'm going to need to see some identification, sir." "Of course." The man reached into his coat, a long, dark coat that Tom could have sworn hadn't been there a moment ago, and pulled out a wallet. He handed it to Tom without stepping closer, extending his arm in a way that made Tom think of a puppet on strings again, joints bending at slightly wrong angles. The driver's license read, James Holloway. The address was 1247 Maple Street, Willow Creek, Oregon. The photo showed the same too-perfect face staring at the camera, with eyes that didn't quite focus on the lens. Tom's mouth went dry. "This says you live on Maple Street." "That's correct." "Sir, there's number 1247 Maple Street. Maple only goes up to 900. James Holloway tilted his head, and Tom heard something crack, vertebrae popping like dominoes falling. "Not anymore, but they used to be. I used to be." "Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me to the station. We need to sort this out." "I'd rather walk, Sheriff. I've been away so long. I want to see what's changed." James turned and continued down the highway toward town, his gait that same unsettling straight-line walk. Tom followed in his cruiser, keeping the stranger in his headlights. He radioed dispatch again. "Betty, I need you to run a name for me. James Holloway. And check if we've ever had an address at 1247 Maple Street. Give me a minute, Tom." Tom kept his eyes on James Holloway's back. The man never looked around, never turned his head. Just walked with mechanical precision, arms swinging in perfect rhythm, feet hitting the pavement in exact intervals. Betty's voice crackled back over the radio. "Tom, I found something. We had a James Holloway in town, but he died in 1952. House fire at 1247 Maple Street. That whole block burned down. They rebuilt it as a park." Tom's blood turned to ice. "Betty, that's not funny." "I'm not joking, Tom. I'm looking at the old records right now. James Holloway, born 1923, died October 17th, 1952. Tom, that's the day. October 17th. The man ahead stopped walking. Without turning around, he spoke, and impossibly, Tom heard him clearly over the sound of the engine and the radio. 73 years ago today, my family burned to death in our home. My wife, my 2 daughters. I was away on business. I came back to find nothing but ashes and bone." Tom grabbed his radio. "Betty, get back up out here. Now." Tom, what's happening? Just do it. James Holloway turned around, and this time Tom saw what he'd missed before. The man cast no shadow. The headlights passed right through him, illuminating the road beyond as if he wasn't there. I walked into these woods at night, James said, his voice echoing strangely. I couldn't bear to live in a world where they were gone. I walked until I couldn't walk anymore. And then I kept walking. Into the spaces between places. Into the gaps where the lost things go. Tom stumbled out of his car, his hand shaking on his gun. Stay where you are. But I'm home now, Sheriff. It's been 73 years, and I finally found my way back. Don't you want to know why? I don't care why. You're not real. You can't be real. James smiled that horrible stretched smile again. Oh, I'm very real. I'm just not alive. There's a difference. He gestured toward the town, visible now in the distance, lights twinkling in the valley. Tell me, Sheriff, how many people live in Willow Creek? What? How many people? Tom's throat felt tight. 3,847. And how many of them remember the fire at 1247 Maple Street? Tom said nothing. Of course no one remembered. It had happened 73 years ago. Anyone who'd been alive and was dead now, or close to it. No one remembers, James continued. No one remembers my wife, Sarah. No one remembers my daughters, Emily and Grace. It's like they never existed. And that's why I've come back, Sheriff. Because when no one remembers the dead start to forget themselves. We fade. We drift. We become less than ghosts. We become nothing at all. What do you want? I want someone to remember. I want someone to know that Sarah Holloway loved to sing while she cooked, that Emily was afraid of thunderstorms, that Grace collected stone from the creek and kept them in a jar by her bed. James's voice cracked, and for the first time, Tom heard real emotion in it, anguish or deep it seemed to come from somewhere beyond human experience. I want someone to know that they lived, that they mattered, that they were loved. Tom lowered his gun, against every instinct screaming at him to run. He asked, "What happened that night?" The fire started in the kitchen. Sarah was baking. The girls were doing homework at the table. It spread so fast. James stared at nothing, seeing a past Tom couldn't imagine. The fire department said it was an accident, but it wasn't. Our neighbor, Howard Chen, had been drinking. We'd had an argument about his fence encroaching on our property. He broke our window, threw in a lit bottle of kerosene. Then he ran. Jesus, Tom whispered. They never caught him. He left town the next day, moved to California, lived to be 83 years old, died in his sleep, surrounded by family, never spent a single day in jail, never told a single soul what he'd done. James's eyes, those wrong, too perfect eyes, locked onto Tom's. But I know. The dead know things the living don't. We see the truth that gets buried with bodies and sealed in coffins of silence. Tom heard sirens in the distance. Backup was coming, but he didn't move. Why tell me? Because in 3 minutes, you're going to get a call. A house fire. 847 Willow Lane. The Chen family's home. Howard Chen's great-grandson lives there now with his wife and 2 daughters. Tom's blood ran cold. What did you do? Nothing. Not yet. But I could walk into that house right now and do exactly what Howard did to my family. An eye for an eye. A fire for a fire. A family for a family. James took a step forward, and Tom smelled smoke. Acrid. Choking smoke that couldn't be there. Or you could stop me. How? Remember them. Write their names down. Put up a memorial at the park where our house used to stand. Tell their story. Make sure that 73 years from now, someone still knows that Sarah, Emily, and Grace Holloway lived and loved and mattered. Give meaning to their deaths so that mine can finally end. Tom's radio crackled. Unit 4, we have a report of smoke at 847 Willow Lane. Possible structure fire. Units responding. James Holloway smiled, and this time it looked almost human. 3 minutes. I told you. The universe remembers, even when people don't. It keeps perfect time. I'll do it, Tom said quickly. I'll make sure everyone knows their names. I'll build a memorial myself if I have to. Just don't hurt that family. You promise? I swear it. James nodded slowly. Then my walk is finished. I can rest now. He looked up at the sky, where stars were beginning to appear. Do you know what's worse than being forgotten, Sheriff? It's forgetting. I was starting to forget what Sarah looked like, what Emily's laugh sounded like, the way Grace would hold my hand when we walked. Tears ran down his face, though Tom wasn't sure how a ghost could cry. But now you'll remember for me. You'll make sure they are not forgotten. And that's enough. That's finally enough. James Holloway began to fade. Not dramatically, not with any flash of light or sound. He simply became less solid, less there, like morning fog burning away in sunlight. But before he disappeared completely, Tom heard him say one last thing. The fire at the Chen house is in the garage. Electrical short in the circuit breaker. No one's home. No one will be hurt. The universe keeps perfect time, Sheriff. But sometimes it needs help staying on the right path. Then he was gone, and Tom was standing alone on Route 9 with sirens screaming in the distance and the smell of smoke still lingering in the air. Tom kept his promise. He researched the fire of 1952, found the old newspaper articles, tracked down distant relatives of the Holloway family who'd scattered across the country. He presented his findings to the town council and pushed for a memorial. 6 months later, a bronze plaque was installed at Maple Street Park, listing the names of Sarah, Emily, and Grace Holloway, along with a brief inscription, "Taken too soon. Loved forever. Remembered always." On the anniversary of the fire, Tom visited the memorial with flowers. As he stood there reading the names, an elderly woman approached. "Did you know them?" she asked. "No," Tom said, "but someone needed to remember." "That's kind of you. I was just a girl when it happened, but I remember Sarah Holloway. She used to give me cookies when I walked by their house on my way to school. She had the kindest smile." Tom felt something shift in the air, a lightness, like a weight being lifted. He looked around, half expecting to see James Holloway standing there, but saw only the ordinary afternoon sunshine and ordinary people going about their ordinary lives. Sometimes the dead walk among us, Tom thought, not always to harm. Sometimes just to make sure they are not forgotten. And sometimes, that's the most terrifying thing of all, the fear that when we die, we'll simply fade away as if we never existed at all. But not Sarah Holloway, not Emily or Grace. Their names were carved in bronze now. They would be remembered. And somewhere, somehow, Tom believed that James Holloway had finally found peace. He walked into town one October evening, a ghost with a purpose. And when that purpose was fulfilled, he walked away into whatever lies beyond, knowing that his family's story would outlive them all.